They say he was born in a storm, raised between worlds, half Chinese, half Japanese. A scholar's son and a warlord's heir. His name was Zheng Chenggong, but history would remember him as Koxinga. In the final days of the Ming dynasty, as China burned and emperors fell, he did not surrender. He gathered ships, raised an army, and set his eyes on Taiwan. Because in a world consumed by conquest, he was fighting for something already lost. The Ming dynasty was in retreat. After nearly 3 centuries in power, its grip was slipping. Corruption rotted the court from within. Famines spread. Peasant uprisings exploded into war. Then came the Manchus, a nomadic people from the north. Organized, relentless, they crossed the Great Wall, took Beijing, and claimed the mandate of heaven. A new dynasty was born, the Qing. But across the empire, not everyone accepted it. Some Ming generals switched sides, others surrendered, but a few refused. They called themselves loyalists, exiles, rebels, and the most famous of them all was Zheng Chenggong. Zheng Chenggong was born in 1624, the same year the Dutch landed in Taiwan. His father was a Chinese merchant and pirate. His mother, a Japanese woman from Nagasaki. He studied in the halls of Confucian scholars, but was raised in the shadow of empire and war. When the Ming court collapsed, Zheng refused to bow. He took his father's fleet, set up a stronghold in Xiamen, and began launching attacks along China's coast. To his soldiers, he was a general. To the Qing, he was a threat. To the Dutch, a distant storm. But Zheng was not fighting for power alone. He believed he carried the Ming legacy, that the dynasty lived on, in him. And as his enemies closed in, he needed a new base, a new home. Across the strait, Taiwan waited. By the 1660s, the Dutch had ruled southern Taiwan for nearly 4 decades. They built trade routes, collected taxes, converted the island's children. But they had grown complacent. Their soldiers were few, their alliances thin, and their enemies closer than they thought. In early 1661, Zheng Chenggong launched the largest naval expedition of his life. More than 20,000 troops, hundreds of ships, all headed east toward Taiwan. The Dutch were caught off guard. Their cannons faced the sea. But Zheng's forces landed through the river mouths and encircled them from behind. The target was clear: Fort Zeelandia, the Dutch stronghold in Tainan, and the heart of colonial rule. What began as a trade colony was now a battlefield. The Siege of Fort Zeelandia lasted 9 months. Rain turned the fields to mud. Food ran low. The Dutch waited for reinforcements, but none came. Zheng's cannons battered the walls. His men dug trenches, cut supply lines, and waited. Inside the fort, Dutch soldiers held on, starving, sick, surrounded. In February 1662, the Dutch surrendered. After 38 years in Taiwan, the VOC lowered its flag. The last Dutch ships sailed west and disappeared over the horizon. For the first time, Taiwan was no longer ruled by Europeans. It was ruled by a man who had never bowed to an empire, but was now building one of his own. Zheng Chenggong didn't just defeat the Dutch, he took their colony and turned it into a kingdom. He renamed it the Kingdom of Tungning, a base for Ming loyalists, a symbol of defiance. He kept the Dutch forts, used their cannons, maintained their tax system. But Taiwan was not empty. Han settlers were already farming the lowlands, and indigenous nations still held much of the interior. Zheng brought tens of thousands more across the strait. Soldiers, families, refugees. New farms replaced old forests. Conflicts grew between settlers and the island's first peoples. Zheng ruled for less than a year, but in that time, he reshaped Taiwan's future. Not as a colony, not as a rebellion, but as something entirely its own. Zheng Chenggong died in 1662, just months after taking Taiwan. Some say it was malaria, others say heartbreak. He never lived to see his dream fulfilled. His son took the throne, but the kingdom wouldn't last. In 1683, the Qing Empire crossed the strait and brought Taiwan under its rule. And yet, Koxinga never disappeared. To some, he was a patriot, a hero who fought for the Ming. To others, he was a conqueror, a new ruler who displaced the Dutch, but brought his own kind of empire. In Japan, he's remembered as a cultural son. In China, as a national icon. And in Taiwan, as a complicated beginning. Because history isn't always clean, and heroes don't always arrive with clean hands. Next time, the Empire strikes back. The dynasty arrives and claims the island.